Om Shri Sai Ram and welcome to this conversation with Madam Poornasri Devi. Today she is here with us not as the former principal of the Anandpur campus of Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning or the one who was blessed by Bhagawan to initiate the puja in the Gayatri temple way back in 1998 after Swami installed the shrine in the October of that year. Today she is here with us as the beloved granddaughter of Dr B Seetharamaiah, the first superintendent of the Sri Sathya Sai General Hospital, the hospital which has grown in leaps and bounds after Swami laid the foundation stone way back in 1954 during his birthday celebrations and inaugurated it in 1956 during his Dasara celebrations. In fact, in the early years, on every Dasara, Bhagawan would visit the hospital to celebrate its anniversary. And Dr Seetharamaiah was chosen by Bhagawan to steer this hospital for the first 20 years. From 1956 till 1975, he was the one leading the hospital's activities and getting direct instructions from Bhagawan in the functioning of this institution, which was the very first institution in Bhagawan's healthcare mission. And his contribution to Bhagawan's Medicare project and also the kind of inspiration he has been for the sadhakas inside the ashram is something phenomenal. These are stories we do not know. These are stories of saints who have lived in our times. And it is these stories which will help us to become better servitors of Bhagawan, better instruments of Bhagawan. So in that spirit, we have requested Madam to be with us today to share this sacred life of Dr. Bikina Seetharamaiah. Thank you so much, Madam, for coming. And please share with us how Bhagawan brought Dr. Seetharamaiah to his fold. In fact, in 1954, Swami laid the foundation, but Swami had laid the foundation for the human resource of the hospital much before, even though the concrete foundation happened in 54. In 53 itself, Swami had brought Dr. Seetharamaiah. And we know how for Swami, men are more important than everything. As Swami used to say, the MBA students, men are more important than all the wealth of the world. And if you see, Bhagawan's focus has always been how to pour love into the hearts of people so that that love transforms into selfless service. And this is what his journey is all about. So, Madam, please tell us how Dr. Seetharamaiah came into his fold and the magic that Swami did on his heart.
May I offer most prayerful and loving salutations at the divine lotus feet of my most beloved Bhagawan with a prayer to convey through this instrument about the love, blessings and the experiences Bhagavan bestowed on this great instrument, Bikina Seetharamaiah, the first superintendent of the first institution of Bhagawan, Sri Sathya Sai Hospital, built by Bhagavan himself. Body is given by parents, but life is given by God. Parents are instrumental, but divine will is the cause. I owe my gratitude to both my grandfather, Dr. Bikina Seetharamaiah, and grandmother Bullamai. I seek their blessings to explain and explore the divine blessings and the leelas which they experienced in their life. Dr. Seetharamaiah heard about Bhagavan Baba through his younger sister Venkat Subamma, who had the fortune to see Bhagavan at Chebrol in her relation's house. Her descriptions of Bhagavan enthused doctor to have a darshan of this Holy One. And he had to go as per his promise made to Lord Venkateshwara, seeking the easy delivery of the granddaughter. So he, along with his wife, daughter, and the granddaughter, went to Tirupati, and from Lord Venkateshwara, he was drawn to Saishwara of Puttaparthi. After Shivratri, Bhagavan was very kind to bless them with an interview in which the grace and love showered by Bhagavan and the revelations of Bhagavan instilled instantaneous faith in the heart of Dr. Seetharamaiah, and he was convinced he was with the Supreme Divinity. And entranced by the divine love, he started making monthly visits from Konasima to Puttaparthi, though it was a very arduous journey. And from 1955 onwards, he remained at Prasanthi Nilayam. In the year 1956, when the hospital was about to be opened, Dr. Subbarao, a doctor from Bangalore who was supplying instruments to the coming up hospital, wished to serve in the hospital. But he passed away 15 days before the opening of the hospital. Then Bhagavan called my grandfather and conferred on him the superintendent of the hospital duty. My grandfather was demurred. Swami, I have come after retirement with an intention to lead a quiet life of sadhana at your lotus feet. Then Bhagavan revealed to him, it is your great good fortune to be the chosen one. I will work myself through you. You are only an instrument in my divine plan. Aramachandrude tana bantulanu kanugona vache. So he has identified his associate servants and conferred this great boon on him. And the experiences which he had were something which you cannot imagine, because during those days, Bhagavan tenderly planted this hospital, the little plant, and protectively took care of it. So the hospital opening was done on 4th October 1956 during the first day of Dasara celebrations amid lot of pomp and ceremony. And during those days, Bhagavan used to visit the hospital every day. The hospital was a small one with minimum facilities. It had outpatient and inpatient wards and a central room having the examination tables and the injections, and a small labor room, and for the inpatients there were 4 beds for men and 4 beds for women. So that small hospital was the beginning of the divine glorious mission which had to grow in future. So he was blessed with the task of this being a doctor in the hospital. He had the opportunity to convey to Swami every day 3 times, morning, afternoon and night, whatever is happening in the hospital. Bhagavan would advise him on the diagnosis and on the how to deal with sundry ailments, and also how to take care of the pregnant woman and all other issues of the hospital. Bhagavan would instruct him, and he would every day visit hospital either morning or evening. And sometimes he would enter the hospital with an impish smile and see what's happening. And at that time, especially the first 1 year, from 1956 to 57, a grandfather was the only doctor, And they were non-medical graduate assistants assisting him. So Bhagavan was the guide, guard, and everything for them. And sometimes Baba would come and say, "Doctor, you sit. I will examine the patients."
Oh.
And he would examine them. I don't know whether death or holding their pulse and what is needed for the divine. So the divine Leela of the Divine One, they could enjoy and experience. And whenever there was a difficult case, Swami would be physically present over there, blessing both the patient and the doctor with the courage and confidence and the joy that had to be given to them. And those days were very, very unique. And at the end of first year, Bhagavan held a meeting and commended my grandfather for laying a sound superstructure for the future. And he blessed him with the divinely manifested ring. And after that, Dr. Brahmam, another doctor, was also appointed over there.
In fact, he was someone who was a very, very experienced doctor, isn't it? He was working in the government
Yes.
of Andhra Pradesh as the assistant
Actually,
surgeon.
he was working as an assistant surgeon in the composite Madras State Government Medical Services. After retirement, he wanted to spend his life in sadhana at the divine lotus feet of Bhagavan. That's all.
Always a very spiritual person.
And that's how he came to Baba. But when Baba bestowed on him, he understood how spirituality is not different from this service,
Selfless
and how
service.
both are same. Because in the very first discourse of Bhagavan, he said, Madhava himself has been doing the Manava Seva in order to make Manava do the Seva and attain the grace of Madhava. So my grandfather could see how Bhagavan Madhava is doing the Manava Seva, which was a great inspiration for everybody. And apart from this, since grandfather was, he was doing some Likita Japa. One day, Bhagavan came and asked him, "What are you writing?" Then he said, "Swami, please guide me and give me the divine name." Then Bhagavan took a piece of paper and that he wrote Om Sri Sai Ram, the Likita mantra. So he was initiated into the Likita mantra, and after that, whenever he had a spare time, he would always sit and write the mantra, and he wrote 2 crores of the same mantra. And he used to give himself totally to Bhagavan. He had that supreme faith that Bhagavan is all-knowing, and whatever he says is the law, and he has to obey his command to the utmost. And whenever Bhagavan used to send message for him for some work, when the messenger comes and conveys to him, Baba is calling you, even if he is halfway through his meal, he would immediately get up, wash his hand, and would rush to Bhagavan. And sometimes in haste, he would button his shirt improperly, and the loving chiding mother would remove the buttons and adjust neatly. Those were different days. They experienced the divinity. Swami was so caring and loving towards everyone, and especially those that offered these services. And grandfather was very extraordinary in the righteous conduct and certain disciplines. Having got the help from the doctor, some of the patients or their relations, thinking they have to give something to the doctor, if they come with any materials or gifts, not only he would reject, but he would start shouting at them for bringing that. And they would get frightened and get back. And he used to be very, very careful in following every instruction of Baba to the utmost. And his devotion to explain, let me give you an anecdote. It seems once the Prime Minister Bajpayee, His Highness, was in private audience with Bhagavan and asked Baba, what is devotion? Then Swami did not answer. After a little time, he repeated the question. Then Bhagawan immediately didn't answer because Bhagawan's answers are practical demonstrations, not verbal. So one student came with a tray filled with water glasses. Then Bhagawan looked at the boy and said, "Drop it." Immediately dropped the tray and the glasses fell helter-skelter along with the water. Then Bhagawan turned and said, "This is devotion."
Wow.
So,
Implicit obedience.
implicit obedience, where your mind will not interfere and judge or discriminate. You just obey the Lord. A similar thing happened with my grandfather. When Baba had taken the illness of paralysis for a week before he announced himself as Shiva Shakti, the suffering on the divine body, the close devotees could not endure. And grandfather was there, other devotees were there. Swami wanted to make the situation light. Everybody was in distress, tensed. Then one of the devotees asked grandfather, "What can we give to Swami?" Then grandfather said, "Whatever Swami says." Then Swami said, "Visham." Visham means poison. Then immediately grandfather said, "Yes, Swami." Everybody looked at grandfather seriously, whether he had heard it right or not. Why is he saying Visham? But grandfather had such faith, Visham cannot even harm the Divine One. Whatever he says is the law and the
If
command.
the Divine wants that, that is, we should not even think twice about it.
Then Swami laughed, and everybody laughed, and the situation became light. So we do not know the divine at what time, when, how.
I think there were many moments also where he experienced Swami as someone who was absolutely supranormal.
Yes, yes.
Even though he was all the time with him, talking to him, playing with him, and eating with him and spending time with him, isn't it? There were those moments when he was stunned to know that he is in the presence of the Supreme Principle.
Yes, Bhagavan revealed very silently. Here I would like to quote in the volume 1 of Sathya Sai Speaks, chapter 30. Bhagavan says, "Mahashakti has worn the cloak of Maya Shakti and has come down in order to contact and protect the mankind." So even in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 6, Lord Krishna says, "Ajo apisan avyayatma," though I am unborn and eternal, he says, "Bhutanam Ishvaro apisan," though I am the Lord of all beings, Prakritim Swam Adhisthaya, keeping the nature under control, Sambhavami Yogamaya. Wearing the cloak of Yogamaya, I manifest. This is what he experienced in the divine presence of Bhagavan. It seems during those days, Bhagavan would emerge out of the mandir to give darshan. He would come to my grandfather and very lovingly would say, "Doctor, check my temperature." And he would take out the thermometer and give to Swami. And the recorded temperature would show the top point in the thermometer. And agitated, he would say, "Swami, please take rest." Then Swami would smile and proceed for darshan. And after returning back from darshan, he would ask, "Now check." Then the recorded temperature showed below normal. And he was relieved. But Bhagavan's play, we cannot understand. Another day, it seems Swami would ask, "Now check my pulse." And when pulse was checked, it was very, very high. And the divine Leela of Sai, he again went for darshan, came back, and he asked for the rechecking of the pulse, and it was very low. So it seems Dr. Pundalika, the budding doctor who was seated in the veranda, curiously watching these divine leelas of Bhagavan, and on Dr. Seetharamaiah, how he's playing, how he's changing in minutes the pulse, the temperature from on the divine body. See, he alone has the control, not only on his body, on our bodies, but the entire universe. He is the one who has come down. Silently, Bhagavan revealed this experience to these divine leelas to my grandfather.
I think that is the reason why whatever cures also that happened in the hospital, it was purely because of the faith that the doctors had in Bhagawan and the faith they instilled in the patients on Bhagawan, isn't it? I think in those days, the only mantra for every cure was Sai Ram. Sai Ram. The doctors would say Sai Ram, the patient would say Sai Ram, the powder that they give medicine, they would say it's a Sai Ram powder. I think, as Swami says, the doctor only cuts, the surgeon cuts, and the divine heals. I think that is the spirit with which the hospital was functioning then. It continues even now. But in those days, Swami set the foundation for how faith is the basis for not just spiritual growth, but even your mundane cures, isn't it?
Yes. Actually, I used to see my grandfather enthralled in exuberating devotion, dedication, full of love for the divine cures and the divine leelas of Bhagavan, which are extraordinary and beyond the explanation of medical sciences. So he would explain to the visitors. I could see the joy which was welling out of him. In fact, I would like to touch the holy feet of my grandfather and to bless me to explain these divine leelas which he experienced. And he has, in fact, recorded many of these divine miraculous cures in some of the journals which are given. And few of them I'm trying to explain so that all of us will benefit how Bhagavan had cured. Because during those days, the hospital had minimum facilities. And people who are rejected from the major hospitals in India and all abroad, they would come as a last resort to Bhagavan, where there was nothing available in the hospital. So the divine doctor, Bhagavan, had to deal with all these cases. He says, unseen and seen grace of Bhagavan had cured all of them. Not even one case of failure is there.
Wow.
All of them were healed. So he explains one after the other how the divine has blessed these people. And he records, he says, during those days, sometimes mere vision of Bhagavan was sufficient to cure the ailment. And he says there was a lady who had a 60-year-old lady with an intestinal colic, and she was vomiting and she had motions and she needed intravenous drips. And doctor arranged for the stretcher so that she could be brought to the hospital. But she had a vision of Baba in which Baba told her not to go to the hospital. And she refused to be moved from her bed. And though volunteers persuaded that we would like to take you, you are sick. And after that, the illness also left her.
Oh, the Sabbath also left her because she is not willing to come. Illness also left her. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And then
It's her faith in Bhagavan and
Yes.
the grace of Bhagavan.
yes.
Wow.
Then the doctor records certain instance where word of Bhagavan was sufficient to cure. And he says there's one person by name Satyanarayana, and he had a high fever and also boil in the thigh. And he was in one of the rooms in the hospital, and doctor gave him some tablets. Then Baba happened to go to the room next to his. Having heard that Baba has come, slowly somehow he managed himself to drag and went and touched Baba's feet. Swami lovingly patted his back and said, "You do not have any disease. Don't worry." That was the end.
Okay.
Fever vanished and boil vanished.
Wow.
Then a doctor records another event where the word of Bhagavan was sufficient. It seems this is a lady devotee from 62 years old from Nellore. She was bedridden, spent several months in a Guntur hospital, and she was rejected, and then came to Baba's hospital with diabetes, high blood pressure, and she was admitted, and she was not even able to do her work. And Baba was away on a tour. And when Swami returned back to Puttaparthi, he would always visit hospital and the patients in the hospital. Then when Baba came to the hospital, doctor informed of her. Then Swami looked at that lady and said, "You have no disease." That's all.
That's all.
All the diseases vanished. One word of Baba. This is where the divine will, it can do anything.
Yes, yes.
Then another incident he records of a Pathsala boy. He says that he had only 50% vision in the eye and there was a boil on the pupil. And the best doctors at Bangalore could not make it all right. Then his mother prayed to Baba, "Swami, please cure my child and bless him." Then when Baba went to Pathsala, he called out for this boy, Ramesh. And he called out and he peered into his eyes and said, "There's nothing wrong." And the pupil vanished, 100% vision, there was nothing wrong. So doctor also says unspoken will is superfluous, even word is not needed. He records certain cases where Bhagavan cured. He did not even say a word, but it seems it was old lady devotee from Kaikaram, West Godavari district, Andhra Pradesh. And she had high blood pressure, diabetes, and she felt she was on the deathbed. But the fear of death made her pray intensely to Bhagavan, and she was totally cured. Bhagavan's physical intervention was not there, but unspoken will of Bhagavan cured her totally. It's several mysterious, sometimes Swami mysteriously appeared, and that mysterious appearance of the divine cured it. Seems there was a little girl, Sai Prabha, admitted with intermittent typhoid fever. And it was not coming under control. And her condition was very serious. It was 1961, and she was in a delirious condition. Then early in the morning, around 3 o'clock, she shouted, "Grandma, Baba has come. Can you see?" Then nobody could see, but they could see Vibhuti mark on the forehead of the little girl. And she was free from the fever. See, another incident of mysterious appearance, he says, there was a person, Mr. Raju, 40 years age. He came to attend a conference at Prasanthi Nilayam, but he started vomiting blood and passing blood in the bowels. So they admitted him in the hospital and also administered intravenous glucose injections with no improvement. And the high pulse rate caused anxiety to the doctors, and they worked till 3:30 a.m. and unable to do anything, applied vibhuti on his forehead, chest and stomach and went. By the time the doctor came at 6 a.m., they found him on the road to recovery. When they asked what happened, how did you become all right, he said, "After you all left, somebody came and helped me to walk to the closet here, and after that I felt better." Then doctor inquired whether any of the hospital staff helped. None of them knew anything. So it is again the divine mysterious appearance which made the patient all right. How Baba took care during those days, see, innumerable ways.
Swami was coming physically, but even otherwise, I think every patient was being looked after by Bhagavan. It continues even now, but in those days, the instances and the presence was so palpable.
Yes.
In the initial days of the hospital, Swami made it so clear that if there is anything that is operating in the hospital, then it is only my will and it is my grace. And I think we are really, really grateful to Dr. Seetharamaiah for having put down at least a glimpse. I'm sure every day he would have experienced hundreds of instances like this, but at least he has put down a few so that we get a glance of how it was at that point in the hospital. And I think that story continues even now. I think where there is faith, there is grace, and where there is grace, there is cure.
Yes. And he records another event where a coffee planter from Malland, that is erstwhile Mysore state, he had suffered from rheumatoid arthritis for over 30 years. And he came to the hospital in totally emaciated, bedridden, with the kidney damage, and then admitted in the hospital. Then, with the instructions of Baba, when doctor tried to give him some injections, he refused. He said, I want only Baba to treat me. I had enough of allopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda. I do not want any medical treatment. Baba was very gracious. He created a small bottle of oil and asked him to take 2 drops in the water in the morning and evening. And after 10 days, from the hospital on the hill, the patient walked by himself to the mandir and sang bhajans.
Wow.
And after 15 days, he was normal. See, divine leelas are indescribable.
Indescribable.
Another instant of terrible car accident, he says. Devotee, 28-year-old, coming from Hyderabad, met with a car accident at Anantapur. And with instructions of Bhagawan, he was brought and put in one special room in the ashram. And Dr Seetharamaiah and Dr C.G. Patel, both of them were attending. And Bhagawan was instructing them. And Bhagawan himself would every day visit the patient. And he came in such a case, his 6th vertebra was damaged in the spine. And leg bones were fractured and severe facial injuries. But by 10th day, he was pronounced normal. He says, it is mysterious, such a cure beyond medical sciences. It is only possible in the divine hands, with the divine glance. It seems this devotee, Thangavelu by name, he came with a rectum cancer. And he was treated at Bombay, and also his firm had sent him to Switzerland also. So both the hospitals, but no cure. So finally he came thinking last resort Bhagawan, and he came to Dr Seetharamaiah. Then he gave him some palliatives which are not cure, but he went back to the shed where he was staying, and in the night Baba appeared in the dream with a sharp instrument and operated on him. And when he got up, there were blood stains on his body and on his clothes, and he was totally cured.
Wow.
So here I would like to say something about the divine grace, which I heard from Ramana Maharshi. He says, divine grace is a manifestation of cosmic will. It can change the events, and it can alter the events by its own unknown laws, which are above the natural laws, and which it can modify. So here is the divine grace of Sai, the cosmic will of Sai, which is operating on all his devotees. And we are enjoying in innumerable ways, I think, the divine grace.
And he's rewriting our destiny every moment.
Yes, exactly.
I think once you come to Swami, you are not what you were before, or you are not what you could have been. Once you come to him, he's rewriting the lines of your hand. He's redesigning the lines of your head, isn't it?
Exactly. And let me also tell one more incident of the cancer. This patient from near Delhi, and he had cancer of the tongue. He was treated by the best doctors, but found no relief. And finally, he came to Prasanthi Nilayam, and then he poured out his woes to the doctor. Doctor gave him confidence, courage, don't lose hope. And then he took few vibhuti packets to Baba and got them blessed. And after 2 days, with a photograph of Baba, he left to his place. After 1 year, he came to the hospital, and then he told he's totally cured of his ailment. Here, he started worshipping Baba, and vibhuti was only medicine for him, and his faith had cured him. And he says he could feel the presence of Baba at his home, because vibhuti was emerging out of Baba's photo and other deities' photos. And that grace cured him of the cancer on the tongue.
Wow. I think for every incident that is documented, there are hundreds and thousands that we are not aware. Swami, probably we know 5, 6, 10 instances where Swami said cancer cancelled. But I think for every one incident that we know, there are definitely thousands that we are not aware, and and many more we will never know. And I think that is how divine grace operates. And as Swami said, even though I made this hospital, if your faith is strong, you don't have to come to the hospital. The hospital is meant for those people who feel the need for the hospital. But if you feel that your faith is stronger than anything else in the world, then the divine grace will flow to you no matter where you are and heal you spiritually, physically, mentally. And I think this journey and this lesson from Bhagawan started when the hospital started. And Dr.
Yes,
Seetharamaiah was fortunate to witness it and document some of them so that we benefit and we learn from them.
In fact, Baba said, people may ask why hospital? Can Baba not cure the illness with his divine will? He says, there are people who are hankering for the hospital care and injections. Whatever they wish, I have to give them. So even through the hospital, I give them my divine grace. That too is my plan, he says.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's what I think people are at different levels of their faith and their conviction of Swami's divinity. As Swami says, I give you what you want so that you may want what I want to truly give. And everybody is on a different stage in their journey. And Swami has created avenues for every person at the stage of evolution in which they are.
And let me narrate my own experience.
Sure.
This was during my education period. I was suffering with amoebiasis. My father, also a doctor, Dr. Rao, he used to treat me and used to shout at me, you do not inform about your sickness on time. It has become chronic and now it cannot be cured. He used to administer a course of anti-amoebic drugs which would suppress, but again the amoebiasis would relapse. And due to which, especially when I was staying in the hostel during my post-graduation and the doctoral research, I used to face a lot of problem. And after my PhD, when I came to Prasanthi Nilayam, 1975, grandfather informed Swami, granddaughter has amoebiasis. Bhagawan gave handful of vibhuti packets to my grandfather. And that's all. The totally vanished the amoebiasis. And after which I thought, see, the earthly doctors will say it is incurable, but the divine doctor will never say it is incurable. I better depend on the divine doctor than these earthly doctors. For 20 years over that, I did not touch medicine after that.
Wow.
Dr. Seetharamaiah states, as medical practitioners, we are surprised at the inexplicable series of cures that patients experience in the hospital here, especially when they arrive here after being rejected as incurable by all major institutions in this country and abroad. These are beyond the scope of medical sciences for which I was a witness. He says, though I was the superintendent of the hospital, in reality, Bhagavan Baba is the divine doctor. It is, he says, when the gallstones disappear, when Baba says they are not there. And he says heart attacks are warded off. And not only that, he says, the asthma does not torment the patient. And even if there are tumors, with his command they vanish. So what is happening, he says, it is the divine one playing the divine will on his bodies. All are his bodies. So he resides in everybody. And Dr. Seetharamaiah, out of his experience, what he says is, Bhagavan is blessing us with a sound health so that with that health we overcome our obsession to this physical body and move towards the divine spirit. So finally the Sadguru is leading us from this to his lotus feet, even through the cures.
I think that's how he was all the time. He was all the time at heart a sincere spiritual aspirant, and I think that is the reason why he could grasp the grace that Bhagavan was giving, understand the revelations that Bhagavan was allowing him to witness. And I think that itself is a huge blessing to be aware of the blessing that is being showered on you. And Swami showered on him blessings in so many ways. I think that's the reason why, because he knew the value of it. Bhagavan showered so much grace and love on him. I know that Swami wrote so many letters to him when Swami was away, isn't it?
Yes. Before I go to the letters, let me tell a few of the divine incidents where the divine grace had different ways of blessings. So Bhagavan says, even if one member of the family is a devotee, he will take care of the entire family. So Dr. Seetharamaiah's family responsibilities also Bhagavan had taken care. He had a grown-up daughter, Sita Devi, to be married. Bhagavan was so kind in giving instructions from the very selection of the bridegroom, fixing the date and in his divine presence, performing the marriage, gifts and the saris, when to be worn, what, all those. And apart from that, he blessed all the relations and friends who had come to for the marriage. His grace extended. He created the Mangala Sutra and performed the marriage and blessed the couple. And the marriage was performed in the mandir on the rear side. Now, where we have Lord Krishna and the chariot and Arjuna carved, that was the place where marriage was performed. But even the relations and friends who were a little far, but out of interest to see Baba and to see this marriage when they had come, to each one Bhagavan blessed them with an interview. And they all were overwhelmed with joy. See, Bhagavan's ways are really, inscrutable. We cannot understand how the Divine One has an access to every heart. Apart from that, I would also like to mention how the divine grace extended to his daughter-in-law. She was suffering with diabetes, and her mother passed away with diabetes. And during those days, there were no proper drugs for the diabetes. And she was worried with her family responsibilities and the problems. And at that age, she got the diabetes because she had 2 to 4% sugar in her urine. By that time, she had not seen Baba. Only the photograph which my grandfather brought, she kept it in her altar. She used to worship Lord Rama. So after her prayers, in the night, for a long time she wept, saying, Bhagavan, with all these responsibilities and problems and with this disease, how will I manage? How can I carry on? And she slept. Suddenly she found a huge illumination. And in that, a divine voice speaking to her, you are no longer having this disease, I have cured. She understood, though she had not seen Swami, she did not hear Swami, she understood it was Baba who was speaking to her. Then morning she got up and she started having her normal diet. Because she was forbidden even to take sugar in her coffee, she was taking tablets. It was my mother. My father got angry and shouted at her for her carelessness. Then she explained about the vision and said, I don't have any disease. She was so firm, he had to perform the test, and he found the sugar nil. But he was not convinced. He said, sometimes sugar levels are erratic. I am not convinced. And he started performing week after week, month after month, no trace of the disease. Wow. Then he was drawn to Baba. He became a devotee of Baba. Here I would like to explain. Baba says he performs chamatkara, the miracle, in order to bring samskara, the transformation in the individual, which should lead to paropakara, to help others, and finally to sakshatkara. This transformed my father and changed him. In fact, once he told my mother, I have changed a rocky hill into a snowy hill. So his temper, all that, everything undergone a change.
Swami said that, I changed a rocky hill into snowy hill. Wow. That's what he makes out of us. He converts rocks into snow. Beautiful. I think, as you said, when one person comes to Bhagavan, the entire family, generations benefit from it. And Swami's grace, there have been times when Swami has said, if one member of the family comes to me, I take care of the 7 generations. And I think that is what we see in the life of Dr. Seetharamaiah. You have so many members of the family transformed, and so many now so devoted. And serving Bhagawan. In fact, just like Madam who was served in the Anandpur campus, Madam's sister, Nagamani Madam, she served in the General Hospital for many years. And I think there are so many members of Madam's family who are involved in Swami's mission in one way or the other, thanks to the inspiration they draw from how Bhagawan brought Dr. Seetharamaiah into his fold, and the grace flows into every member of the family, the cascading grace of his love, isn't it, madam?
Let me explain Bhagwan's visits to Konasima. My
family.
Actually, my Bhagwan would ask him, "When will you, doctor, take me to your place?" And Konasima is a place where River Godavari is on 3 sides and sea on the 4th side. 4 taluks, Rajol, Mummidivaram, Sakinetipalli and Amalapuram, 4 taluks were inside this River Godavari. Whenever we had to go anywhere, we have to cross River Godavari by a boat and then go to the other side and then continue the journey. So once when Bhagwan Baba was coming to Konasima, here I must tell about this uniqueness of Konasima. This is known for its beauty, plenty, and its purity. Because people over there, lot of faith and studying Vedas, and many Veda Pandits are from there. Even Ghanapati, Kamavadhani is from that place. And
Mr. Kamadhani was the one who taught Vedam to everyone in Prasanthi Nilayam. Yes. He started the Vedic tradition here.
And Dr. Seetharamaiah is also from the same place, Rajol Taluk, both of them. And in fact, the first Veda Purusha Saptah Yajna, all the Veda Pandits are from Konasima. And Bhagwan graciously told them that he would visit all their houses and they fulfilled. This is possible only for the Divine One to give a promise and fulfill, not knowing actually where the house is, and he knows everything and he had to visit. During one of the visits, River Godavari was in floods and Swami had to cross from Kovur to Rajmandri, this side. And the racing waters and the flow of the water, the speed, it was frightening everybody. Authorities were not giving permission for any boat to cross. At that time, because Bhagwan was firm that they should go to the other bank. So the devotees somehow took permission and they got into the launch, they call it motorboat. And when they were proceeding, there was a railway bridge under which the boat has to pass. The water, racing water, was almost touching the bottom of the railway bridge. The devotees got frightened. How will the boat pass through under the bridge? Looking at their fear, Swami told them, "Close your eyes for a minute." And the next minute, they found themselves on the bank of the River Godavari, Rajmandri bank. So here what you can see is Parabrahman, who is beyond time and space, who has no name and form, has come down in the form of Sathya Sai. It's our greatest fortune. He has command over time and space. That particular Leela shows his command and his grip over the time and space, where in 1 minute he took them to the next shore.
Dematerialize and rematerialize anyone at any point in time, anywhere. Wow. And Dr. Seetharamaiah was fortunate to witness those miracles.
And those devotees, they were highly fortunate to experience the divine presence and the divine grace and the Leelas of Bhagwan Baba. And I think in 1974, the All India Conference was held at Rajmandri, though other centers like Delhi, Bombay and Hyderabad were asking for the same grace. Bhagwan himself selected Rajmandri. Though it's a small place, everybody was saying it doesn't have an airport. Swami, why are you selecting? But his grace on the people was so great. And he blessed Dr. Seetharamaiah and his family by his visit to Tatipaka, the village of my grandfather. And he was there for 3 days. 2 times he visited. And during the visit of Bhagwan extended his grace to all the members of the family. He had a family photo, Bhagwan seated in the center, all the family members around. And in one of the photos, the elders standing at the back and small children sitting down, and the grown-up children were on either side of Baba. It seems my cousin Sarojini, she was standing little far with fear and hesitation. She's standing next to God. She should be little far. Then Swami affectionately pulled her and removed her fear. So we don't understand when, what, how. Now she's here. She is the wife of Prasad Rao, ex
Secretary of the ashram.
member secretary Prasanthi. They could come and settle at his lotus feet.
Wow.
And to the left side, in the same photo, my sister Nagmani, who had come down in her teens to Bhagawan, over 50 years, she served in the general hospital and gave herself. So we don't understand. What we feel is Baba was in the center, not only in the photograph, but is in center of all our lives and guarding us and guiding us in every aspect of the life. So divine grace is inexplicable. We cannot understand. It is ununderstandable.
And we do not know what is there in every person's heart. Swami knows.
Yes.
And that is how, if someone is not worshipping Swami, we are nobody to say whether some person is a devotee or not. How pure is that person's soul? Who are we to judge? He knows who is a devotee, who is not a devotee, who is a servitor, who is not a servitor. And he knows when, in what manner, how one should receive his blessings, isn't it?
Yes. In fact, it seems when Baba came to Dr. Seetharamaiah's house, his elder brother, Dr. Veeraswamy, who was graduate in agricultural sciences and who used to do a lot of service to people, and wherever he found the needy ones, and also especially those that could not pursue their education due to financial and other problems, he would help them and make them come up in their lives. And he worked for some time as Minister for Agriculture and Forestry in the composite state of Madras. And Bhagawan all the way walked down to him and sat for half an hour and blessed him and came. I can only feel he's like an Abuban Adam who did not physically worship Baba but practiced Baba's teachings and deserved his grace.
Wow, wow. Everything of Bhagavan, way back in those days itself, Swami said that I don't do anything without purpose. As days go by, as we reflect, probably we can find some connections, but there are still so many dots which probably will take even lifetimes to connect. But every act of Bhagavan has so many dimensions to it, and that becomes clear to us once we become more aware of the divine mystery that he is. Madam, you were saying you will talk about the letters that Swami wrote.
Yes. Normally we say darshanam, papanasanam. The very darshan of Baba removes our sins. Sparsanam, karma vimochanam. When you touch Baba, your karma is relieved. And sambhashanam, sankata vimochanam. That is when Baba speaks to us, all our problems, difficulties vanish. But there's another blessing which Bhagavan gives to his devotees. That is the letters written by divine hand. And grandfather was blessed with such letters. 18 letters Baba wrote to him. And every letter, the very beginning is Anduko Asirvadamulu. Wow. Receive the blessings of Baba. This I think every devotee finds, whoever receives from the divine hand. And some of these letters describe his trips to different places and his blessings given. And some letters are instructions to him regarding some of the patients which he had sent to him for care, what he has to do. And some are instructions on the official procedures to be followed. And some letters he had written were instructions and messages to be given to the ashramites. So which grandfather used to read in the bhajan mandir after bhajan and convey to the devotees. Maybe this would be useful for all of us, since all of us are in the path towards the divine. Letter dated 16/12/64. Bhagavan writes, "Convey my blessings to all devotees in the mandir. Ask them to carry on their works without wasting energy. Tell them to follow such discipline which does not break Prasanthi, and ask them to sanctify their time with prayers. Tell them that Swami is always with them, ever watching them. True devotion is to feel Sai's presence in all their actions, at all times, in all substances. This alone is the power of discrimination, Viveka Shakti, and Divya Rakti, that is, love towards the divine. Tell them to maintain silence and cleanliness. Tell strongly and emphatically that ashramites should move with due care in this ashram space. Going out without any work, mixing with outsiders, leads to ashanti, restlessness. Such conduct is totally against devotion. Everybody should sanctify their time, performing their sadhanas, observing speech control. During bhajans, without giving way to likes and dislikes and disparities, ask them to sing and pray, losing their mind in passion for God." Bhagavan once again conveys blessings to all of them. In another letter written on 10/5/65, Bhagavan instructions on sadhana. In the mandir, may all spend their time immersed in the acts of sadhana. This is the ultimate goal. There is no other worthy way. Akaram kante ajna pradhanam, word or command of Sai, is more important than the form of Sai. By conducting oneself in total acceptance of the word, one can receive grace. Sadhana is the primary action through which they can draw Sai's attention towards them. That alone is Brahma Marga. Giving up material pursuits to some extent, one should pursue the path of sadhana. Bhagavan also gives a warning. True sadhana is to throw aside demonic qualities such as jealousy, pride, anger, hatred, and inculcate divine qualities. Food becomes poisonous and stomach gets upset when it is cooked in a vessel without lining. Similar is the result when good deeds are done with demonic qualities. Such a stomach weakens the body. Body is the boat which can take us to Kaivalya, the ultimate abode. To provide timely food and sleep, keeping attention on the goal, sadhana, is sufficient to safeguard the boat, the body. Convey blessings. In another letter written in the year 1968, Bhagavan says, "Convey my blessings to all devotees. Tell them to sanctify their lives using their time following Sai's commands and discipline of the ashram. One should not probe into the affairs of others. It increases their sins. Ask them to observe silence and cleanliness." So these were the instructions Bhagavan had conveyed in some of the letters. And some of the letters Bhagavan had written were personal instructions in his some of the problems which he was facing. And Bhagavan always encouraged him. And he said, "Perform your works properly and complete them and come. Do not be in haste. And your Ananda is my Ananda." And there was one time his elder daughter was sick, and Bhagavan was extremely kind to say that your elder daughter will be all right. Show her this letter and read. When you do that, she's all right. So how Bhagavan had helped in every way, every person.
Wow.
It's really something which we only have to feel it and cherish in our hearts.
Absolutely.
And sometimes Baba has written, Baba does not forget, will not forget. As always Baba Ishu says, Venta, Janta, Kanta, Inta. He's with us, and he is the one who is the company for us, and who is at our seeing vicinity, and who is in our house. So that protection he explained. Now, can I come to the last days of grandfather?
Oh, yeah, please.
So, grandfather, towards the end, he was a little sick, and though his memory faded, his devotion doubled. And because he was not capable of doing his works, so my father, Dr. Janakiramarao, he also came away to Prasanthi Nilayam, leaving other works to his son and taking care of my grandfather. One day, grandfather had diarrhea. He was sleeping by his side, but when he called out late in the night, he could not hear. But next day, when my father saw grandfather was in the new fresh clothes, and he asked, "Who changed your clothes?" Then he showed Baba's photo.
Oh, wow.
He always would ask the photo to be kept opposite to his bed, so that always his eyes could lay on the divine form of Sai. And he was on oral fluids in the month January from 12th onwards, but he continued on till 15th January. At that time, my sister Nagamani told Baba, "Swami, grandfather is not well." He said, "He served me with a lot of enthusiasm. Let him happily go back to his abode and come." And when he left his mortal body, then Baba said, like great Brishmacharya, he waited till Uttarayana has come and left.
After Jan 15th, he left.
5th.
1989?
Yes. And then here I would like to tell the felicitations given by Bhagawan Baba during the 60th birthday of Swami. So, he said three of them, Dr. Seetharamaiah, Sri Kasturiji, and Pujari Krishnappa. These three men and two women, Konama and Krishnamma, these were felicitated as pathfinders. See, Bhagawan found, has shown us these are pathfinders. Their life is such. And Bhagawan says, the play is his, the role is his, and the lines are written by him. He directs, he designs the dress and decoration, and the tone and the gesture, and entry and exit.
Yes.
And you have to play your act well and receive his approbation when the curtain falls. Yes. And these pathfinders, they are exemplary because they have dedicated their lives totally, understanding the magnanimity of the divine Sathya Sai, and submitted themselves totally in surrender. And so they acted in such a way they could receive the approbation of the Lord, and they are exemplary for all of us. And here I would like to re-emphasize on Bhagavan, especially when he says, drug will not cure the disease. The illness is cured not by doctor, drug, or hospital, but the divine grace alone cures. But you have to understand the divine grace, the mystery, the heart, and you can understand this by the practice of, he says, gentleness, moderation, self-control, along with japa and dhyana. You can earn the divine grace. So it's for us to take this opportunity and to raise up to that level to receive his grace, so that we all with sound health can fulfill our life's task and offer ourselves at his lotus feet.
Thank you. Thank you so much, madam. I think as Bhagavan mentioned in the letter, true devotion is to be able to see him everywhere, feel him at every moment, and experience him in whatever we do. And I think the lives of such pathfinders like Dr. Seetharamaiah, Professor Kasturi, they showed us how once you have that faith, once you have that conviction, how to live that conviction, translate that in real life and win the grace of God. And the way person departs from the earth also shows the kind of life they have lived. Just like Professor Kasturi, when he left, they said the soul left from the Brahma Kapala. And it's the same here with when Dr. Seetharamaiah left, he waited for the Uttarayana, and Swami said he is waiting for it. And Swami said he has lived a complete life. Let him go to his abode. Let us pray that our lives too, drawing inspiration from such great souls, become a life of sadhana, a sadhana which is nothing but complete surrender to His will in absolute obedience and supplication to His message. Thank you so much, Saram.